Thanks for joining us for another edition of Communication Steroids, the weekly podcast that shows you how to become a better public speaker, a more effective presenter, and a conscious and clear communicator. This is where you can find tips, tools, and techniques that you can put to use today. Here are your hosts of Communication Steroids, Tim Gonzo Gordon and Roger Pike.
CommunicationSteroids.com, live on the air.
Yay! We
Right.
are for a fact. Well, are we live or are we Memorex? I mean,
We are live. You know, that's such an old line. Most of our audience probably doesn't know what that means.
doesn't even know what it means.
Is it live or is it Memorex? It was a famous campaign for Memorex who had cassette tapes.
It was
they
audio
were
tape.
selling. Audio tape, yeah. That was so pure that it could shatter glass.
Uh-huh. And people would ask, is it live or is it Memorex? Yeah, and it was a really old campaign,
became,
very successful.
And obviously,
campaign.
this proves that there's a lot of old stuff programmed and stuck in your head. There's just no way of getting it out.
Ever.
Anyway, it's the podcast. I'm Tim Gordon.
And I'm Roger Pike.
And thanks for joining us. We are recording again for YouTube. We'll see if it makes it there, but the last one did, and it looked pretty interesting. If you hadn't gone and checked it out, go to youtube.com/Communicate Steroids. Now, it would be
Communication Steroids.
but that's too many letters.
It doesn't fit
By
their
like one
parameters.
or two letters. So
Yeah.
we had to go with Communicate Steroids. We could have gone steroid communication, but people would have thought, what do you mean?
Yeah, exactly. So, communicate, it's what we have to do to accommodate
so I
their
think we
rules.
just forge ahead. Let's
do that.
let's bypass the normal ad we run here for Stitcher. We'll just do it live. Stitcher.com, we're on it. Check it out. We'll flash something up on the screen. I don't know.
There you go.
Or just maybe my fingers will slide. Anyway, you had an idea for a podcast, which I really liked.
Yeah, I thought that we would talk today about why public speaking still matters, why public speaking skills still matters. It struck me that in the age of so many digital communications, where we Twitter and we use Facebook, we use the social media, and so much of it is written. We send each other IMs, for example, and they're written, and we send each other
instant message.
Yeah, it does. We send each other tweets. We send each other communications through our phones. You know, we
And it's
text
a lot of
each
it
other.
shorthand, texting, and it's LOL.
Yeah, exactly. Rolling on the floor, laughing my hiney off.
ROFL.
Yeah, exactly. And so much of it is written, and it struck me that people who have grown up in this with all of this written communication probably think that the actual spoken word may be a thing of the past, and it ain't.
Well, I'll tell you, my son, who's now a senior in high school, has had to do at least one, if not two, presentations per year in school since about the 6th grade. And I think that's great. In fact, my youngest son, who's now in the 5th grade, has had to do it starting in the 1st grade. So it's once a year, maybe twice. Part of their grade, they've got to do some sort of presentation, maybe 90 seconds long. They may be reading it, they're holding it and reading it, but they've still got to do it. They've got to get a little of that under their belt and a little exposure to it, which I think is great. I think that's very good. They didn't do that to me as a kid.
Right.
Maybe once or twice you had to do an oral report. Well, that's fine, but it just didn't happen all that often.
So let's ask the question, does the spoken word still matter? Does communication still matter?
Well, it does. And one of the things we like to point to is the research done by...
suddenly it just evaporates from my head. But it was
University of Alabama.
Exactly. It was a Southern university. It was a university study that talked to people in management positions in human resources.
Yeah, HR.
People who hire people. And not just people who hire line people, but people who hire managers.
Yeah.
And the number one skill they looked at for management level employees was communication skills.
Communication skills, public
speaking
skills. Can you get up in front of a crowd, or can you express yourself? Can you articulate your thoughts in a manner which people can actually understand and respond to?
And
without going
inspire people.
Without saying okay.
Can you inspire people? Can you motivate them with the spoken word?
So obviously, it's very important for careers. It's important skill to have for self-confidence. I think that's a really kind of a side benefit of being able to learn public speaking. It really helped me. The two things that really helped me in self-confidence as a kid. One of them came early on in my mid-20s as a kid. I just realized what I said. My mid-20s. Was martial arts.
Right.
That really spread confidence to a lot of areas.
Right.
And probably 15 years later, it was public speaking.
Well, for me as a kid, it was sports, and some success in sports led to a bit of confidence. And then when I got into high school, I started, competitively public speaking, and,
yes, you did,
and did pretty well.
And
at
you
that,
became
so.
very, very adept at it. Yes.
So for me, that was public speaking in sports really boosted my confidence. And the fact of the matter is that becoming adept at public speaking is absolutely essential in the business world, and not just for the reasons we described, not just because it will help you land a job, even though it will, as we've studied, as we know from that university study, but also because you will be able to do things that other people cannot do.
It gives you a competitive advantage.
Exactly. You can effectively lead meetings. One of the almost canards of the business world is the idea of the run-on meeting, the prolonged meeting, the endless meetings. You have a meeting about when you're going to have a meeting, and then another meeting about where you're going to have
then
it.
You finally have the meeting about, we're having too many meetings. We've got to stop meeting like this.
Exactly. So how do you have an effective meeting? And one of the ways that you have an effective meeting is you learn effective communication skills.
You learn how to facilitate those meetings. That is a very important skill in communications.
And we teach a whole class on it, facilitating meetings.
Well, and not only that, there are other things that come into play. Organizing your thoughts and ideas. Articulating. You also learn things as a public speaker because you have to do research, perhaps, to really flesh out what points you made. You may feel that you know all that you want to discuss about a particular issue, but you start researching and go, oh, I didn't know that. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. So you start to look at the various things, and you learn a lot by becoming a public speaker.
And the fact that you're a good writer does not necessarily make you a good speaker. In fact,
no.
It doesn't.
The fact if you're a really good disc jockey doesn't necessarily make you a good public speaker. I learned that the hard way.
Right.
I'll digress just a second, but that was one of my main goals to get into public speaking, is that I was a disc jockey for years. I could speak into a microphone in a room with no one in it, or with 2 or 3 people in it, but when it came to getting in front of people, it scared the bejesus out of me. And I wanted to get over that.
Gosh, it's been so long since I was scared from getting in front of people. If it ever happened.
Just think about it. So what would that be like to you?
I wonder. I've always been excited by
We need to bring
crowds.
on the little music here. Dun, 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 dun.
I've always been absolutely excited, breathtakingly excited by crowds. When I get up in front of people and talk to them, it's energizing. I just explode with light that kind of bursts from within me. Is how it feels.
Wow.
And even when I'm done speaking, I don't want to go home. I don't want to go into an empty house. I want to go out and do something physical, and play.
You want to go talk to people and have them tell you how great you were. I know you.
Oh, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right, so public speaking is, from a lot of things, we think very, very important.
Absolutely critical in the business world. It's also critical in the interpersonal communications world.
It is.
And you cannot text your girlfriend without it.
One of those pieces that we talk about a lot in public speaking and communication skills, it may not be public speaking so much, but it certainly is a critical point, is your listening skills. Learning how to listen properly is something that no one teaches anymore in school.
We teach active listening, and we are firm believers in it, and that's also an important business skill, but it's an important skill in life, because active listening is listening for meaning.
It's listening to what the other person in a relationship is saying. It's what your boss is saying. It's what your subordinates are saying. It's a lot of different things. Listening is key, and a lot of people think they're listening when in fact they're actually forming a rebuttal in their mind to something they heard 2 minutes ago.
Exactly where I was going. Many people listen for the purposes of responding rather than for the purposes of understanding. And learning active listening teaches you to listen for meaning, to listen to understand. And we're just huge believers in it, and it will help you in your communication skills if you do that.
So we're going to wrap up our podcast now. Thanks for listening, but for a number of reasons that we've cited and others that you probably can come up with yourself, we think that public speaking is an extremely important skill to have for all those reasons.
And for so many more.
All right. Thanks for joining us for the podcast. Over there is
Roger Pike, and over there is
Tim Gonzo Gordon. It's CommunicationSteroids.com. Wave goodbye.
Oh, bye-bye. I forgot the camera was on.
I know.